David, I see you rocking out to the theme song there. 200 plus episodes in, and it still just is like sex to the ears.
There's more to it than that. I think I could squeeze more out of it. Could have got more. Should have got more.
Yeah. Welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction Podcast, episode 201. We survived the big 200. We're here for you now. Not a live show, as you know, as we told you on episode 200. It's because I'm out of town. So we are recording this ahead of time. This is June 28th, 2024. So if the world implodes in the upcoming week and you're now hearing 201, and you're like, why didn't the boys talk about X, Y, or Z? That's why, because I am derelict in my duties and I just take vacations at random times. And
he doesn't work for a living. He doesn't work for a living. People just give him money and he begs on the street. That's all he does. Puts his little tie on, he acts like a lawyer, and then drives around South Florida all day. Exactly.
That's right. Fake it till you make it. You can find this episode, wmdpodcast.com/201. You can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction, and you can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and X. So, David, we have one segment this week. We're destroying memes because we saw...
Because that's the name of the fucking podcast, maybe?
That's right. And we haven't done a meme destruction segment in quite some time. But what we're talking this week is a recent appearance. I think the week that we're recording this, it happened the weekend before, I believe. So it might be dated by the time this comes out. But the topics are timeless, and the inability of our leaders or wannabe leaders to think for themselves and not do anything other than mindlessly regurgitate narratives, tells you that they're not impressive people, the ones that lead us.
It's what's that assumption called when you always expect the leaders to be smarter than you?
Stupidity?
Well, yeah. What I always equate it to is that, my dad always said, yeah, it sucks to find out that your dad's just a normal human, not a superhero. I was like, pump the brakes, dude. I never
thought that.
You put the super on there pretty quick, didn't you? But no, it always seems like when you come down to reality, and in fact, the harsh realization is most of the time I'd put this population as smarter than most of our governing body. So,
what do you mean by this population? You mean just the people, the general
American
public?
people, just in general. Yeah. Like, I feel like they could answer pretty cognitive questions a lot better than anybody else on Capitol Hill would, because people on Capitol Hill would be thinking, how do I answer this so that my constituents don't hate me and that I can be here tomorrow? They'd be more caught up with that than answering the question, basically what I'm saying.
Exactly.
But anyway, I digress.
So what David and I will be, what will be the foil for this episode, a veritable smorgasbord of memes coming out of a recent Bill Maher overtime segment. I always mispronounce.
What'd you call him?
Maher. How do you pronounce
Maher.
it? I always screw it up.
Just Maher.
Okay,
Maher.
Bill Maher.
You're doing too much. Do less. It's like you're adding too much in there.
I feel like we've done this before, where I've mispronounced his name and then you correct me and then I still mispronounce it.
It's okay. You as long as you say it once, you're in the clear for get it right once, and then everything else is off the table.
So on a recent segment of Bill Maher overtime, he had former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. You remember the guy who wrote a book in the middle of COVID and everybody cheered him, and then they found out that his policies killed a bunch of old people? Yeah, that Andrew Cuomo.
But that's not what they kicked him out for. That's not what they kicked him out for. They kicked him out for fucking sexual indiscretion.
You
don't get kicked out for killing people. You get kicked out for touching booties you're not supposed to be touching.
Yeah, exactly. Being a little touchy-feely. Like, that's what he said. I use my hands a lot in Italian.
Yeah,
that was his excuse.
I use my hands a lot when I'm, too.
Yeah. We did not. We did not. Not here at Weapons of Meme Destruction. We did not. So anyway, Bill Maher recently had on Andrew Cuomo.
And your favorite.
And friend of the show, frequent repeat offender.
Habitual line stepper. He is a habitual line stepper.
A former representative from the, I want to say Michigan?
Illinois.
One of those Midwestern states. Illinois.
I thought.
Former Republican, U.S. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, or as we not so affectionately call him on WMD podcast, Cuckzinger. And I was just talking with David before we hit record here, and I didn't know this. All the times that we've referenced Cuckzinger on the podcast before by reading his bitchy, whiny tweets that you can just his persona oozes out of the tweets. I didn't realize David had never before actually seen or heard him speak. He's only known Cuckzinger in text form for how he presents himself on Twitter.
Fucked voice that you have for him.
Yes. But this episode is going to be David's first introduction to Cuckzinger in his own words.
I bet he's so cute. I might want to slide up in his DMs after this.
And I hope for all of you memes too, because
forbidden love.
If you go your whole life without ever seeing this highly punchable face and even more punchable persona, you're doing pretty good in life. But we wouldn't be us if we didn't show you the ugliest parts of society and then comment on it accordingly. So with that being said, we're gonna play this clip. It's about 9.5 minutes, but the first 2 minutes and change aren't really relevant. So we're playing about 7 minutes of this exchange here between the three of them. And we're just going to pause periodically and comment because, I hesitate to say this because I don't want to kind of infect your minds and have you thinking about something ahead of time. I want you to come to your own conclusions, but this is just riddled from front to back with bullshit memes, mindless regurgitation of narratives, just dumb shit from these people who at one point in time fancied themselves leaders of the American people. They're not anymore. Cuomo is not the governor. I can tell you
all of them fancy themselves intelligent. All of them do.
Oh, they do. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And they take some pretty unintellectual stances on things. So we were doing a little pre-roll of this and I couldn't bite my tongue in half of these things. So good luck with you guys. And
yeah. So we're going to share this. Like I said, play it. When they say some dumb shit, we're gonna, pause it and then give our commentary and move on for it. But like I said, it's 7 minutes, but we wouldn't be weapons of meme destruction if we didn't stretch this bad boy out to an hour. So
we know how to do it.
Here we go. Now, what they're going to start off talking about first is some baseless platitudes that have to do with Russia, Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously they're going to weave Trump in with it because Cuomo actually, surprisingly, has less TDS than anybody else on this stage. Did not see that one coming. But they're gonna try to tie Trump in with Russia, and that's the first topic that we're going to destroy. So here they go.
How will the new pact between Russia and North Korea disrupt the balance of power in the world?
I think it shows that Russia is increasingly desperate. The front lines have stabilized in Ukraine. The weapons gap is shortening. And he has to go to North Korea to beg for weapons. And what we find out today is South Korea is thinking about opening up their arsenal of 155, which is artillery rounds. So this is really a bad look for Vladimir Putin. And I think it just goes to prove he is simply trying to buy time to see if Donald Trump wins in November. And he's doing it at the cost of his people's lives.
And then the applause sign comes on and the clapping seals just can't help themselves in the background. So where to begin with this? First of all, let's not even quote anybody today. Let's quote people like, now I'm blanking on his name, that started with Henry Kissinger and now I'm blanking on some of the other names. But in the early 90s, these elder statesmen, these great, vaunted, and again, according to the regime, these vaunted diplomats and statesmen and things like that. And after the end of the Cold War in 1991, when the Soviet Union collapsed, almost to the man, they all warned the worst possible thing from a United States national security perspective is to drive Russia into the arms of China. Because Russia has an economy that is heavily predicated on its natural resource. It is natural resource rich. Just ask Europe when after the United States blew up the Nord Stream pipeline and how desperate they were for Russian natural gas and oil. It is a resource-intensive economy, and it has a shit ton of nukes. China has a massive manufacturing base, a massive population, and it also has nukes. So if you were in the American foreign policy establishment, again, this was the consensus of all of the, long gray beards in the room in the early 90s, the worst thing you could do was drive Russia into the arms of China, or in today's case, North Korea, et cetera, et cetera. And that's exactly what the fucking morons that are in the DC Uniparty have done. And to Cuckzinger's mind, that's brilliant. And it just shows that Putin is weak by getting closer to these other nuclear armed nations that also have, when they combine their forces in terms of resources, economy, population, et cetera, can rival the West. Cuckzinger just thinks that's a brilliant idea.
It's funny. If something happens that on Biden's watch that could lead to World War III, it's a good thing. They'll find a good thing about it. But somehow they found a way to not just find a good thing about how Biden is doing it, and I might be leading the fray here. I might be giving away too much too soon, but they find a good thing that Biden is doing because he says he pushes him back and he's standing up to him and he's not letting him move. Whereas Trump earlier with his policies, he blames him for escalating, even though there was no invasion during Trump's campaign. And Trump didn't heighten anything, and there was no collusion. There was no back and forth between China. So like you said, to have those two things happen during his presidency, that would be Biden, that is, that would be enough for like, hey, you really fucked this up. But I'll let you play the video after this. It's only going to get worse, but somehow they always, it's like I said, they're like a toxic ex-girlfriend. Like they'll just find a way to blame you for shit that you haven't been around for, I don't know, 4 years. Like, I don't know, man. I just don't know what happened to these people. Like I said, they feign themselves intelligent. How do you reach these conclusions?
Yeah, well, they were never, despite how, you're exactly right, despite how they have always felt about themselves, they have never been very bright people. And stupid people are capable of only repeating whatever the, approved talking points are. And especially if they know that they're going to get, a large amount of social credit and, just people are just going to clap mindlessly for them because they are also the same brainwashed people. Then that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to go for the lowest common denominator. They're going to say the easy thing because it's popular. And shocker, 9 times out of 10, the easy thing is popular because the people in power are the ones that, that are controlling all the dissemination of the narrative. They're the ones that are manufacturing it. The fact that the Hollywood elite, almost to the letter, with few exceptions that prove the rule, to mainstream, high level academia, to politics, to the media. The reason why they all speak from the same playbook is because the playbook is being written by the ones that have the power. And the ones that have the power are the ones that are inculcating this TDS, this Trump derangement syndrome, and people like Cuckzinger. And since he's not clever enough to think 2 inches in front of his nose, then he just repeats it. He gets his applause, and he really thinks he said something and made a point. Even though his point is not just mindless and stupid, it's dangerous saber rattling, pushing 2 of the most heavily nuclear armed countries in the world closer to the brink.
But like you said, and make no mistake about it, it's not that he's saying that because he firmly believes it. He's saying it because of the applause. If he knew that there would be an applause break for him saying that Trump was an amazing president,
opposite.
Exactly, he would say that. They don't think about what they're saying, and that's what leads this to it. Speaking of shocking, Dane, you mentioned shocking things during your rant. this reminds me of, again, we covered the debate a couple of weeks ago now, as of the release of this podcast. And the next day, I was shocked that the left that covered the debate were so shocked that Biden was in such a condition, such a deconditioned condition. What condition his condition was in? Oh, I tell you what. And I remember my takeaway on the live event was, I don't think anything's going to change, because the people that saw Biden, they've been seeing that Biden for years. He didn't do anything to lose any votes, and Trump didn't do anything to lose any votes. So there's a big practice in futility, or exercise in futility. Turn on the TV, and then everyone's, oh, Biden was really bad tonight. Where did that come from? Well, I don't know. Maybe he'd been kept in a fucking dark room away from every camera as long as they could for the last 2 years. And every time he got out of that box that they kept him in, he would make another gaffe or do something wrong. Like, you're not paying attention. And that's basically what I'm saying about this, is they don't care to pay attention. They just want to say the rhetoric to appease to the power that keeps them in the position that they are in right now. That's where you find, I think I just answered my own question. That's where you find this kind of mentality. That's where you find this complete lack of reality within their perspective, I guess.
Exactly. So, back to, the Three Stooges here.
Well, I think that's a pretty
Oh, and by the way, just that last little part there about, Russia's just biding his time for Trump to come in office, or Putin's biding his time for Trump to come in office, and that he's sacrificing his people's lives. Funny thing about that is, I was watching an interview with Thomas Massie. I think Tucker was interviewing him.
Oh, this is a good one.
And Massie was talking about, his fellow congressman, which Cuckzinger's not anymore, because he's a whiny piece of shit that lost his seat after he, sold out and got on the
Dan,
January
we get
6th
it.
committee.
You don't like him.
Anyway.
Big breath. Big breath.
They were all walking around Congress patting themselves on the back during the last time that they all voted for the Ukraine package, and they were waving the Ukraine flags on the floor of the U.S. House, waving the flags of a foreign country on the floor of the U.S. House. And they were like, this is so great, right? We're snuffing out Russian lives, and it's not costing a single American life. This is fantastic. And Massie asked the obvious question of, well, okay, but do you know how many Ukrainian lives have been lost? And for people that are waving the Ukrainian flag, that have hashtag stand with Ukraine in their bio, that are talking all about Ukraine as the, bulwark of democracy in Eastern Europe, et cetera, you would think that would be top of mind. You would think that if a wholesale destruction of an entire generation of young men from a country was being just laid to waste by the policies of these politicians like Cuckzinger, you would think that they would care about how many Ukrainians are dying. And what Massie thought was remarkable, which I do too, is nobody knew. And they didn't care to know. And there's something uniquely evil about that. There's something uniquely evil about the concept of, I have decided that this is an existential threat and enemy in terms of Putin and Russia. And I am satisfied to sacrifice as many lives as it takes, simply because those lives happen to have the unfortunate circumstances of being born within the arbitrary geographical boundaries that is Ukraine. I'm happy to sacrifice as many of those lives as it takes. And I don't care what the number is. And it could be 500,000 and it could be 5 million. Who cares? Because we're killing Russians in the process. So for Cuckzinger to sit there and say that Putin is somehow deranged and sacrificing his people's lives while he awaits for Trump to get elected, and then, to have buddy talk to Trump and blah, blah, blah. It's like, pick the splinter out of your own ass, jackass. Like, this is you to a T. You are a morally bankrupt piece of shit. And yet you will, as David said, regurgitate whatever line you possibly could just to get the applause, and all of the lives lost as a consequence of it be damned. Who cares?
because they weren't yours, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's not your life and you're making a profit, fuck them.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that last part. So they're going to go on about Russia.
Charitable way to look at it from our point of view. From his point of view, he's getting we thought we could cut him off. And it turned out that there were plenty of people in the world who said, no, we'll take your business.
Yeah.
He's getting his weapons from China and North Korea and Iran, and all the people who don't like us for various reasons seem to be getting together. I know George Bush used to love that phrase, axis of evil, when he just made it up. It didn't really make sense back then. This kind of really does make sense now.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it is, and you could see it happening. You could see them joining forces against us.
But that's what happens. See, that's the difference between when you do have a president, love him or don't love him, Biden at least is doing some pushing back against this axis. And so they are driven into each other's arms out of desperation. Russia has to go because he has had economic impacts. Donald Trump was this is what drives me nuts is when the GOP say he didn't invade under Donald Trump. It's Ronald Reagan that said we can have peace and we can have it tomorrow, surrender. And that's what Donald Trump basically did, was giving these people everything they wanted. He went to North Korea and wrote about love letters with Kim Jong-un.
Right.
So yeah, they're coming together, but that's as a result of a stronger U.S. foreign policy.
Okay,
David, thoughts?
A stronger U.S. foreign policy. Dane, under Trump, were we on the verge of World War III?
No.
Under Trump, did we start any new wars?
No.
Okay. Under Trump, did he make, before he left, movements to get us out of the 20-year war that we had been in?
In terms of Afghanistan, yes.
Correct. Okay. So, fast forward 3 years to 4 years later, we are trundling towards World War III. We have Russian submarines off our coast in Florida as a direct response to Biden doing the thing that he said he wasn't going to do, use American weapons in Russian territory, which is, he said himself in a clip, which is escalation towards World War III. Make no mistake about it. He said that. Now he's doing it. Has China got stronger or weaker globally since he's been in charge?
Definitely stronger. Yeah.
So it seems like all of our... Oh, and then, by the way, lest we forget October 7th, how's Iran doing over there, backing up the Hamas? What did we give money to them recently? Under $6 billion? Does that ring a bell anywhere?
They had something like that in the U.S. and their assets were frozen, and then I think Obama unfroze them and something.
Okay, so Trump didn't do that. Okay.
No.
Okay, cool. So all I'm saying is, if you start tallying these things up, I don't know where they're getting this. I feel like they just say things that they all know everyone else is going to shake their head about, knowing full well that it doesn't have any merit behind it whatsoever. I'm at a loss. I don't know how to make a joke about this. There is no funny fucking point to this. Like, they're just refusing to. It's just Donald Trump bad. Donald Trump bad. Well, actually, all the things that you don't like about Donald Trump that Joe Biden might have been doing all these years. No, Donald Trump bad. Donald Trump bad. Like, but you're intelligent. They're the smart ones, Dane. They don't get flagged on YouTube for saying bad things. Yeah. They are not the 121st political podcast in Australia. They obviously know more than us.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of getting flagged and just mis and disinformation, there was one thing that he said in the previous the clip that I paused after the first time that I neglected to mention, but it's all part of the same thing of just, again, mindlessly regurgitating these things that are just demonstrably false. In no reality are they true. And one thing that he said, like I said in that previous clip, was, Russia's getting desperate because the front lines have essentially hardened. Again, that is a major assumption that Russia hasn't chosen to move the front lines forward. They have complete control of the Donbass regions, 90+% Russian speaking. They have control of Crimea, which is what, they wanted in the first place. They haven't moved forward in the north, further through Kharkiv and through Kiev, because they have no interest in that. Despite what Cuckzinger and the Biden regime will tell you is that Ukraine is first, and then if we don't check Putin now, he's going to roll into Poland next, and he has Hitlerian, motives to conquer Europe and blah, 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 or reestablish the Soviet Union. Despite that rhetoric, if you look at the actions of what Russia's doing, that's not at all what they're doing. They're saying these Russian-speaking populations in the far eastern part of Ukraine were being oppressed by the pro-American regime that the United States helped set up a coup in 2014 to take out a democratically elected president that just happened to be,
that sounds like escalation.
more friendly to Russia. And so Russia said, we've taken these Russian regions, we're protecting the Russian people living here, and now let's sue for peace. And we're probably going to keep this area that we've gained, but we don't care about the north. You can keep Kharkiv, you can keep Kiev, you can keep all of that. But let's have peace. And that is not the battle lines hardening, as Cuckzinger alluded to, that Russia can't move forward, or that the supply gap is shrinking, and that Ukraine is making up ground. What's happening is the Russian meat grinder that is grinding up, and by the way, I'll fill in all of those congressmen that don't know, the low estimates for number of casualties on the Ukrainian side in this war is 500,000 people. Half a million people are dead because of what Cuckzinger will cheer on until another 500,000 are dead. And
God, I'm so glad Biden's so strong against Russia. Fuck, yeah. He's doing a great job.
And so the front lines aren't hardening, Adam. Russia is choosing not to move forward until all hope for peace is lost, and they'll say, fine, I guess we'll keep going until you eventually do sue for peace, unless, you never do, and then the country of Ukraine just no longer exists anymore. But this whole other part about running into the arms because they're desperate, again, I was watching not only the global economy, but even in Russia all throughout 21 and 22, because I was getting heavily involved in the AMC shit and all of that. So just reading a lot of financial news at the time. And when this initially happened in early 2022, the United States kicked Russia out of SWIFT, the international banking transfers, and essentially said, we don't want any of our, friends trading with Russians in dollars. So what happened? The Russian economy tanked for about a week and a half. And then it came right back. You know why? Because what I just stated earlier, what Cuckzinger has no fucking clue about, and neither does the DC foreign policy consensus, is that the Russian economy is not like the US economy. The US economy is heavily predicated on soft goods and services, things like pharmaceuticals and tech and things like that. It's not a manufacturing base. Russia is its economy is heavily driven by its natural resources, oil and gas production, and by manufacturing. That economy, that type of economy, is not hurt by, being removed from a financial sector. They just need to go around it. And so what did they do? They started trading with China directly, selling Russian oil to China. And now instead of trading in the dollar, they're trading in the Russian ruble and the Chinese yuan. So what the geniuses in DC decided to do to isolate Russia and to ruin its economy, which the Russian economy is better now than the day that they invaded Ukraine. And the DC foreign policy establishment consensus thought, it'll be a really good idea if we kneecap the dollar and less countries use it, and they start using other currencies instead. And so now the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are transacting globally outside of the dollar. A couple of weeks ago, Saudi Arabia just decided to not renew the 50-year contract on the use of the petrodollar. So all around the world, you're seeing this Bretton Woods established, international monetary policy where the United States dollar undergirded everything. And that is what allowed the United States to leverage itself to the hilt up until today. Slowly but surely, one by one, countries are exiting that system because they're tired of the United States using that financial terrorist threat to get to intervene in their domestic politics and force them to do things that they don't want to do, that's not good for their people, that's only in the interest of the Americans. So contrary to what Cuckzinger says, what the United States has done in response to the Russia invading Ukraine has only made Russia stronger. It's only emboldened it. And it's done it all at the cost of about 500,000 Ukrainian lives. That is the truth of the matter. And so when he gets his claps and his cheers and his applause, just know that he is on the level of a mass murderer in terms of cheerleading these things. And it's all for nothing because he's not getting his wet dream of seeing Putin and Trump fall together. It's just not going to happen because, again, it's a fundamental misunderstanding because these people don't know the first thing about anything before they decide to start acting.
I got nothing,
that was one hell of a filibuster. So.
Yeah. You can go ahead and press play.
Okay.
What explains the delay in the Supreme Court issuing a ruling on Trump's immunity claim? All right. Well, let's have one of you experts. First of all, explain what is the immunity claim. This is one of his 4 trials that he was supposed to have before.
What's Kissinger's
the
background?
election took.
Is he a lawyer? Yeah.
No, he may have been a JAG. I don't remember, but he was former Air Force.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if he's a JAG or not.
Place, don't get me started on that because I go off on that every week. They should have done this. They had all the time in the world. Merrick Garland, another useless apparatchik from the Democratic Party who couldn't get it done. The immunity claim. This is the one where Trump is claiming that you can't put me on trial for anything because as president, I can basically do anything, including kill people, right?
I had immunity.
And it's 114 days, I read, said that the Supreme Court has had this. Is there any reason they needed 114 days to think about this?
No. I mean, look, I think obviously somebody's stalling. It's one thing when you put out a big landmark decision like Roe versus Wade and you do it at the end of a term because, abortion's been a certain policy for 50 years. This is a time of the essence and somebody is trying to delay. That said, even if it comes out next week, there is still, Judge Chuckin gave 88 days until the trial started. I could see her still starting the trial in September. Donald Trump will say it's too close to the election, and she'll say, you're the one that appealed. I was ready to go at the beginning of the year. So I still think it's possible that this goes.
Yeah, but what's scary about this, from my point of view, the trials in New York, you had Florida, Georgia, and 2 in New York. The 2 trials in New York, New Yorkers said 60.
So before Cuomo starts this point, I just wanted to address that one thing that they said there at the beginning about how dare a president like Trump say that he has immunity even if he kills something. Now, obviously, they're talking about, domestically, like murder on the street, right. Where Trump said I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and blah, blah, blah. So that's obviously what the emotional appeal that they're trying to make there. But to get a burr in your saddle and get all aggravated that a president would have the notion that they could get away with murder. I don't know what rock these guys have lived under, but that has been the hallmark of every single presidential administration, period. I mean, that's what war is. Let's tear the Band-Aid off and stop, teetering around it where, there's casualties in war and it's sad and it's
not sometimes.
It is murder. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't drop bombs, if you sanction people and starve them to death, again, the largest man-made ongoing humanitarian crisis in the world right now is in Yemen. You have children under the age of 5 and 10 that are dying of cholera because they can't get clean water. And the reason why they can't get clean water is because their water infrastructure, their water treatment plants, the pipes that deliver it, et cetera, are being bombed into oblivion by Saudi Arabia using American weapons and American intelligence and targeting. Okay? So if that's not murder, I don't know what is. So this idea that how dare a president think that he can get away with murder, that's the nature of the office, or at least the way that it's been exercised by every person, regardless of party, since forever.
Yeah. I just want to hearken on to what you were saying. There's pitfalls. And whenever you feel like all you're supposed to do is just repeat, oh my God, he thinks that he can murder people. That's what it's like. When you start getting caught up in that frenzy, take a second, make a difference. Think about what you're saying. Are you being hyper emotional right now? Is that affecting your decision making? Probably. Because granted, as bombastic as Trump is, and by God, is he bombastic, he's, aside from shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue, if he ever does that, by God, throw him in jail. But I don't think he's called the droner in chief, is he?
He's not called that, but he actually did drone.
Yeah, his average was higher
than Obama,
right?
Yes,
but Obama killed a lot of people.
Yeah,
Bush clearly killed a lot of people. Clinton didn't really do a bunch, did he? No. Well, he just fucked a bunch of people.
Bosnia, Kosovo.
Oh yeah.
He was responsible for killing a lot of people too.
Mm. So those, I don't care which side of the fence you fall on. That's Democrat, Republican, Democrat. And then also this war that's being heightened over here that we're aiding and abetting. Which one of the wars you want to go with? You want to go with Israel and Gaza? Are we still talking about that? Or do you want to go over to Ukraine and Russia and that new little front? And you said 500,000 people have died there. So that's a lot of death on one president's hands that he's willfully doing. He's aiding and abetting it, and he's incentivizing it.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about here, guys?
Yeah.
Go for it.
And shouting down anybody who objects to what he's doing. So
6% said the justice system is politicized.
Sorry, I paused that at a bad point. But what Cuomo just said there is in New York, not a Trump haven, 66%. So 2/3 of the people in New York have the opinion that the justice system is politicized. And Cuomo's going to, surprisingly speak some sense for once on this panel and say that that's a problem.
And there's nobody in New York who likes Trump. And still 66% said the justice system is politicized. That's why I think he's not paying the same price for these verdicts, because they believe it is political. And you want to talk about a threat to democracy. When you have this country believing you're playing politics with the justice system and you're trying to put people in jail or convict them for political reasons, then we have a real problem.
Well, and
So I think whoever just turns on the applause sign didn't understand what he was saying.
No. I think that was just natural applause. I think somebody actually agreed with that, which is why it wasn't so big.
Yeah. 2 people agreed with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's absolutely right about that. This idea that if democracy is anything, and listen, we have plenty to say about how fucking screwed up of a system democracy is. And I'm talking like true, populist democracy, not a constitutional republic, which is what we really are. Democracy has its problems, but at the bedrock of democracy is you need people that believe in the system. If they don't believe in the system, what's the point? If the system is used as a political weapon, as he's alluding to there, if you want it for all the wailing and gnashing of teeth that Cuckzinger and Biden and everybody on that side of the spectrum always talks about, we have to save our democracy. If anything is killing it faster, which is not what Cuomo said, but what he's alluding to, it's their actions in weaponizing the justice system.
Right.
And even heavily blue New York sees that to the tune of 2
but
in every
whose fault
3
do they
people.
blame?
So
who do they blame? They blame people that are voting for their adversaries, i.e. Trump. It's like, no, like if you put a 3-year-old behind the wheel of a car and you sit down next to him and go ahead, kid, cut her loose. And he drives straight into a fucking pole. Are they taking the 3-year-old to jail, or are they taking the adult that was sitting next to him to jail?
Yeah.
They're taking the adult to jail. If we lose confidence in democracy, it's not our fault. It's the people that were running the democracy's fault. That's
Right.
the real problem. But they'll blame Trump for fucking, and Trump voters for fucking a rain cloud over their head, for Christ's sake.
Or not see that the reason why there are so many Trump voters is because of these actions. That it's
well,
not
you'd have to
just
remember what you
because-
did 5 minutes ago, or take accountability for what you ever
Right.
did, which would be very out of their character.
It's much easier to just call all of those people deplorables and never have
course.
to look in the mirror and take accountability. So, that's why they do it. And that's also why they're going to keep getting slapped in the face, blindsided about how can these people still keep voting for Trump? We made him a felon. We made him this. We did that. The reason why they're doing it is because of what Cuomo just said. You are the ones that are on one hand saying democracy is sacred. It's the greatest thing ever. We got to do everything we can to protect it, blah, blah, blah.
But you're
That's what
subverting
your
it.
rhetoric, and then your actions are completely in violation of every principle that democracy allegedly stands for. So,
Does that sound like a hypocrite?
yeah,
Sounds like a politician to me.
big time.
I saw two stories in the paper today about the election. One is that Biden is slightly pulled ahead, although not in the states where it's going to matter, but nationally, which was news to me. And then the second one was fundraising. The trial in New York, the one he got convicted for, was the greatest fundraising bonanza ever. He was lagging behind Biden, and now he's pulled quite a bit ahead. That trial was the greatest reason people had to send their checks for 5, 10, 25, whatever dollars to Donald Trump.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, it's a Hobson's choice always with him, because he's always guilty.
Yeah.
It's not like he's not guilty of any of these crimes, but the repercussions might be worse. I mean, this is something powerful.
Was he a Russian Manchurian candidate, Dane?
No.
Okay. So that's one crime that he definitely wasn't guilty of there. Do you want to go? Do you want to get one? Well, what else was he charged for?
Well, the one that he was convicted for was not only never brought as a felony, but in order to bring it as a felony, which is, again, what they convicted for, you had to point to an underlying crime, and they never did it. They never, the attorney general never pointed to an underlying crime that was supportive of it rising to the level of the felony. And the reason why they had to do that is because what they originally charged him with is a misdemeanor, and the statute of limitations had run. So they couldn't charge him with the misdemeanor charge. So they manufactured it by turning it into a felony charge, but they couldn't point to what the crime was. They just said, oh, well, he misapplied some documents and called it just a payment to an attorney when it was a payment to Stormy Daniels and all this kind of stuff. But that's not a felony. So even in the case that they got a conviction, they did it by manufacturing it. And then the judge, during the jury instructions, told the jury when, as we all know, and again, I'm getting into the weeds a little bit here, but then I'll stop. But as we all know, we always hear that proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the standard in criminal trials. And people just think, oh, well, that means you got to find him beyond a reasonable doubt that he was guilty of the offense. It's not just that. You have to find that he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt as to each element of the crime. So if there's 3 elements that it takes to get to the overall crime of guilty as charged, you have to find guilty beyond a reasonable doubt as to element 1, element 2, element 3, and overall. And what the judge told the jury is that if you think that there might have been a crime, or that you think that there might have been this thing as to element 1 or 2 or whatever 3, then you can just say guilty. And by the way, this is a Democratic judge who has a daughter who is an operative for the Democratic Party. And all throughout the trial, she was touting the trial and actually sending out mailers to raise money for Democratic candidates on that trial.
Aren't you supposed to
The
remove
judge's
yourself?
daughter was directly financially benefiting and Democratic politicians from that trial. So when you consider what his jury instructions were to the jurors themselves,
Isn't that a conflict of interest?
that's a problem. That's
Isn't that
a major
conflict of
one.
interest? Aren't you
Yeah.
supposed to remove yourself? when you have
Yes,
something
you're
like that?
supposed to recuse yourself. Exactly.
Is that some kind of law?
To your point, David, not
Is
only
that
did
some
they
kind of
not
law?
find him on the Russian stuff, even the thing they got a quote unquote guilty verdict on was completely manufactured. So, yeah.
Which is why 66% of New Yorkers think that this was a political hit job. Which, I don't know. Does it look like that to you? It's got all the markings of it. And even Bill Maher's about to bring up the timing. Or did he already bring up the timing?
No, Andrew Cuomo is going to. And I think and him and Maher are going to talk about it. But
that he could still get convicted before it's like they didn't bring the trial until the campaign. He started on the campaign trail. They waited until this election cycle.
Yeah.
They had all this information for 3 fucking years. Like what?
Well, it wasn't even that they didn't bring it. So, for example, I told you that misdemeanor charge that they could have charged him with on that falsifying of business records. They didn't bring it, and the statute of limitations had run, so they could never bring it. But it was actually considered before the statute of limitations had run, should we bring these charges? And the New York Attorney General at that time said, no, we don't have a case here. It was brought later. And how was it brought? People from directly inside Biden's DOJ went to the New York Attorney General and sat down with him and said, here's the case that you're going to bring, and here's what you're going to allege, and yada, yada, yada. So
and then it came out the 15th and said they're bringing the case.
Directly from inside Biden's own DOJ was concocted this plan to bring that case, the only one that he's been convicted of so far. So, yeah. This whole idea from Maher that, well, he's always guilty of whatever he's charged with. The biggest one of all, as David pointed out, was the Russian thing. Didn't happen. Now, somebody that was guilty was the Clinton campaign of manufacturing all that. And
Steele
you want to
dossier.
talk about falsifying records, the Steele dossier. And you want to talk about a United States attorney lying to the FISA court judge to get the warrant to search the things in the first place, to get a wiretap on Trump's campaign in the middle of an election. You want to talk about actual criminal behavior. It's all on the other side, which is why they object so loudly, because, you know,
they said that this was election interference. That sounds a lot about election interference. They sent a kid to jail for 7 fucking years for saying, if you want to vote for Hillary Clinton, text this number.
Mm-hmm.
That was election fraud. They sent him to jail for 7 years. What jail time has Hillary served? When is she getting served her papers? What about the 51 FBI agents that knowingly falsely said that the Hunter Biden laptop, which they never want to talk about, was Russian disinformation during a campaign cycle? The New York Times came out and said, we intentionally didn't run that, even though we knew there was probably some fucking legs there.
Yep.
Because we thought it would hurt Biden's chances.
And it was something like 15 to 20% of Biden voters in the 2020 election said after the fact, if they had known about that Hunter Biden laptop story and, you know, ahead of the election, they would not have voted for Biden. That is way more than the margin of victory. So that is
what is
election interference?
Interference then?
It's whenever
seems like it's rules
anybody
for you
that
and
the
not for
regime
me.
doesn't like wins.
Right.
That's when it is.
Boom.
Yeah.
Politicians always had to face. Remember when Obama came to office, they were like, how can you not put those people in jail, those Wall Street people? And Obama was like, yeah, that would feel good. And it is the right thing to do, but it's also more the wrong thing to do because it'll tank the whole economy. Mm-hmm. Those are the kind of tough decisions.
That's not that tough of a decision.
No.
Because what he's talking about with it will tank the economy, what he means is all of the bad actors that made bad investments and engaged in moral hazard because they had the promise of a bailout standing behind them. So who cares if we lose billions of dollars? The government will bail us out. The reason why they made those actions is because they had every confidence that Obama would do exactly what he fucking did and not make them pay the consequences. What would have happened is all of those people's investments would have went to shit, and the buildings don't go away. The real estate doesn't go away. It's not like, oh, the economy tanked, poof, all of the physical items don't exist anymore. They would have been sold for pennies on the dollar in bankruptcy. They would have went to people that are better, more prudent managers of those properties and goods and resources, and the economy would have recovered. That's the whole purpose of bankruptcy. But what Obama did is he came and said, well, I'm just not going to make any of them, suffer any consequences, not because it's a less bad choice to not tank the economy, but because all of those people were his donors. And look at the massive donors on the Democrats versus Republican side today. They are equal, if not even more, high net worth donors donating to the Democrat side than the Republican side.
And by the way, did we learn our lesson? Or are we still engaging the same fiscal policies that got us into that fucking mess to begin with?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm glad it worked out for everybody. But
it's almost like if you never punish the kid keeps sticking their hand in the cookie jar.
Almost
Shocker.
Like it. No. It's not even that we punished him. We gave him more cookies after he stuck his hand in the cookie jar. We're like, why are you screwing around with that? Let me take your sister's cookies. There you go. You can have all those cookies. So definitely don't grab out of the cookie jar again, or I'll have to give you more of your sister's cookies.
That you have to make. So I was always with you on the one in New York, the hush money trial. I don't think they should have brought that one. It was just always going to look like a sex case. And people were always just going to look at it that way.
Which is what it was.
So anyway.
That case, the Attorney General's case in New York, frankly, should have never been brought. And if his name was not Donald Trump, and if he wasn't running for president, I'm the former AG in New York, I'm telling you that case would have never been brought. And that's what is offensive to people. And it should be. Because if there's anything left, it's belief in the justice system.
Just heard the one about
5 seconds of common sense. And dead silence from the SEALs in the crowd.
Well, trying to overthrow the government.
No, you couldn't have them applaud that. That made too much sense.
No, exactly. The only thing that should have been applauded in this entire, 9-minute segment, and not that.
The United States. That's the main thing. He tried to overthrow the government of the United States.
Who?
So again, he didn't.
Who did?
He literally told them to be peaceful. Don't do it. In their brains, they have this idea that he said, charge into the Capitol, take your guns, blah, blah, blah.
Take back what's yours.
He never said that. And
Stand with me.
Even the fact-checking websites are starting to come out now that it's far enough removed and be like, yeah, he didn't really say exactly that. So again, questioning the legitimacy of an election is not overthrowing the government.
By the way, he said this during a week where the video was dropped by Nancy Pelosi saying that she turned down the extra guards that Trump offered her.
Oh,
that's the same fucking week.
That is also true.
If you want to claim heads, let's not stop with Miss Pelosi, but we will.
Yeah. So, if his goal was to overthrow democracy and, not have a peaceful transfer of power, I don't think that he would have offered to have the National Guard go in and protect Congress from whatever might have happened so that they could go in and do what they're supposed to do and certify the election. But, don't let Bill Maher think that, because he'll just be like, well, he tried to overthrow the democracy or whatever.
The states. That's right. And we're not gonna hear that.
That's right. Good for you.
That's all you've heard.
Yeah, yes,
I didn't pause it.
That's all you've said for 4 fucking years.
I think that the weird thing is, though, Hunter Biden, I would also say, was put in jail or was convicted,
of course,
because of politics.
Of course.
And unfortunately, that never gets out.
Right. All right, guys.
Fucking pause.
So that's it. Yeah. Go for it, David.
Hunter Biden took pictures of himself with hookers, crack cocaine pipes, and a gun. The only way you can say, granted, Dane has his viewpoints on what he was convicted on. He doesn't stand for that kind of shit. But what I will say is he was told he can't have a gun, and he went and got a gun, and he took pictures with it. Did you see that meme of the judge that was going around a couple of weeks ago, Dane, they call this guy on a Zoom call and he answers And he goes, "Oh yeah, just give me 1 second, Judge. I'm just pulling in. I'm pulling into got a doctor's appointment right after this, so give me 1 second." And the judge goes,
I did.
What's this trial on again? And he goes, he's got a suspended driver's license and such and this and this. He goes, and you were just driving? You answered your car? You answered your phone driving? And he's like, he's like, all right, I've heard all I need to see. It's like, you just turned yourself in. You might as well just walked in and turned yourself in. He just incriminated himself. And I don't know how they got a hold of the pictures. I'm sure he posted them to his Facebook like some kind of fucking dumbass. But anyway, if you're the president's son, let this be a lesson to you. Don't take pictures with crack cocaine, hookers, and guns. And you'll probably be a better son, a better vice president's son or president's son than Hunter Biden. To say that Hunter Biden is even in the same spectrum of a political conviction as Trump, in my opinion, that's your raspberries at the moon. That's completely different.
Yeah. No, I definitely hear your point, David, about he literally took pictures of himself committing the federal crime that he did, which is he is a felon. And I do not, again, I will standing on principle here. All laws regulating the use and possession of firearms, and I obviously mean use in, a nonviolent way in the sense that you can't use them for murder, obviously. But the problem there is not the gun. It's the fact that you committed another crime, which is murder. But
it's a story for another day.
As a story for another day. But so when I say all regulations, all laws, infringing on the right to keep and bear arms are by definition a violation of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. And as the supreme law of the land, it makes all of those laws unconstitutional. So even somebody I vehemently despise, like Hunter Biden, I would not say that he should be convicted of such a crime because the law is bullshit. The law itself is unconstitutional. However, the law is what it is, as these morons will tell you. The law says what it says. If you violate the letter of it, then it doesn't matter if you're the president, you should be convicted. The law is what it is, and Hunter Biden was fucking moronic enough that he literally took pictures of himself violating the law.
Putting it onto that computer that we all know.
So, when Cuckzinger says, well, the only reason Hunter was charged as political and blah, 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 trying to analogize that with what they did to Trump, where again they literally manufactured charges that had never been brought.
Just basically the judge goes,
didn't exist.
Just give me a guilty verdict. Just go in there and give me a guilty verdict.
That is incredibly disingenuous. So again, I don't have to agree with Hunter Biden getting convicted of what he got convicted with to be able to know that Cuckzinger saying that is complete and utter bullshit. When you do the thing that the law says you can't do and you take pictures of it, I don't know what to tell you. That's not a political prosecution. So,
and if you think you can just turn your laptop into any computer service, being the computer servicer or maintenance or a tech guy, if you think you can just turn in your computer, being the son of a president, but at the time a vice president, former vice president, and you think that you could just have that shit on there and no one's going to do anything about it, you might not want to just leave that laptop sitting at that person's desk for years, months, if not years on end. You might want to go pick that motherfucker up. And lastly, the only thing that I will admit that Cuckzinger is Cuckzinger, right? You fucked me up with the Cuckzinger. You fucked me up with the Cuckzinger, or the other one.
It's Cuckzinger, David.
Kissinger. No, Kissinger. You fucked me up with Kissinger. But
Henry Kissinger, yes.
Yeah. But no. The only thing that was political about this is that they only got him for that. I'm more concerned about the WhatsApp messages to the CCP asking where the big guy's money is. Because there's another little law of the land that we seem to be letting go of more and more.
Yeah.
For Biden is that treason is a thing. And to be manipulated by another or to be paid by a member of the Communist or China Communist Party or Communist Party of China,
Chinese
CPC,
Communist Party, yeah.
Or whatever it is. If you're getting
CCP.
paid by them while you're the president, that you're looking for collusion between Trump and Russia. That's dead to rights. Getting paid by a foreign country while you're sitting as the president.
Yeah. Well, vice president at the time.
Oh well.
When he made the big guy call, Biden was vice president. It just came out after that. Yes. Point is, he was in a position of power and had the ability to deliver on a promise to a foreign adversary in exchange for money. Yes, that is treason. So
I fucked up the presidency part, but I'm sure the money, because
it doesn't matter.
What was Hunter getting paid by the Ukraine? What the power management? He was a consultant for that. How much was he getting? $500,000 a month?
He was getting quite a bit. Yeah. No experience in that industry ever. Could not possibly have been giving any sort of practical advice that would be of any use to that country. It's purely a political favor position. Yeah. To anybody with, two brain cells left to rub together.
But these guys have got it nailed that Trump is the real problem. God damn if Trump isn't. I almost feel like they know what they're pulling the wool over everyone's eyes. They're going Trump here. Well, they know what's going on over here.
Of course.
It almost might be intentional. But with all that being said, Dane, I'll leave the final word to you if you got one.
No, that's all I got. So, definitely, you can find this podcast at wmdpodcast.com/201. You can get the audio only on any podcast catcher. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. You can get the video on YouTube, Rumble, and Odyssey. You can link up with us on our private members only Facebook page at $5 a month or more of support. You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X. Just search Weapons of Meme Destruction. We're at WMD Pod. It's one of those two on those various platforms. But while you're at the website, WMDpodcast.com, make sure you join that email list while you're over there. Click down below the links under this video, buy some merch, donate some Bitcoin to us, help out the show any way you can. I know these are not exactly easy times, so we appreciate every amount, no matter how small. But
tell me about the freeways, Dane.
We also appreciate the freeways, the likes, subscribe, the shares, the comments, and the simply telling your friends and family about Weapons of Meme Destruction. Help growing the sane space one person at a time. All of those things are deeply appreciated, and together we can make the world a little bit freer tomorrow than it is today.
Well, with all that being said, Dane, that was nice. I think that was a nice little flair you put on the end of that one. That wasn't bad.
Getting good at this. 200 episodes in.
And one. We're on the other side, baby. Well, thank you for sticking around, memes. And as always, stay safe, but more importantly, stay free.